elected.
Sorry.
Okay, is that loud enough?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have two delegates here with us tonight that just got elected. We have Delegate Karen Greenhall and Delegate. So ladies first, we'll give them each 15 minutes to tell us what they're doing in the General Assembly, how it's going and everything, and then you all can ask questions. There is cards on your tables if you can write them down. Okay, go ahead, Karen.
Unmute yourself.
There's no voice.
Unmute yourself, Karen.
Yeah, she's muted.
There we go.
You had muted me. I'm sorry. Okay, it's so good to I can't see you. But it's good to be with y'all tonight. It's really exciting up. Oh, thank you, Robert. Hi. It's really good to get to talk to y'all tonight. It's really exciting up here. One thing that I really do like that I want to make sure I tell you, and I'm going to tell you first so I don't forget, is in the Republican Party, we are not told how to vote. So feel free to hold us accountable for how we vote and the decisions that we make. We talk, we debate, and we decide how we're going to vote individually. So that's really great. So for me, I support the gun bills, and I put in 2 election bills myself. So y'all expect me to go there, but there are a few bills that I actually got to support that you probably don't know about. And I wanted to tell you those. One was the Navy license plates for cars with Jen Kiggins. And then I did a bill for people who are deaf and hard of hearing, children who are in school, and the whole deaf community. We have a large deaf community in Virginia Beach. And so I was in touch with them to make sure that they approved of the bills, and they were up here, and we just really had a good time. It was exciting. I got to do a bill that Kenny Golden had asked me to do, that the veterans requested, that had to do with being able to use the guns in ceremonies. And then there was a hazing bill. There was a family of a young man who died at college hazing when he was 19 years old. And they've just been trying to get some oversight in place. And I got to help with that bill, which was real exciting for me to be able to do something that's going to make a difference, because my kids went through college. So I understand what that's like. And I got to support the bill for law enforcement officers to be required to go through training for human trafficking so that they will know it when they see it and understand what they need to do. And I also got to support getting rid of the sales tax on food, which I talked about door to door for all those months. So that's just a short list. So as far as my bills, y'all probably heard me talk about with Jen Kiggins. She introduced a bill last year for election accuracy. And it was simply saying you update the rolls with who died every week. Because right now there's actually no requirement in law for the registrars to update the office, the records. They're to be given the information, but the law didn't even say they had to update it. So when Jen did that bill, it passed in the Senate, and it came to the House and landed in the committee, Elections and Privileges, which I'm on at my request. And she called the man who I replaced and said, hey, I represent your district, and this is election integrity. Will you help it get out? And he told her he had been told by his caucus to make it die, and it did. So she had it passed in the Senate, and I just got it passed in the House. So we're going to have this good election integrity bill finally. And then I did another bill which is actually coming up tomorrow, to make sure that doctors have the right, without being penalized, to write prescriptions for FDA approved off-label drugs for off-label use. So that one's looking really good. And I don't know if that rings a bell with y'all, but it was important to me to protect that doctor-patient relationship. So patients decide what medications they want to try, not someone else for them. Let's see. And then y'all might have questions on that one later, which is fine. And then I have, I noticed On the federal tax return, there's a tax deduction of $250 for public school teachers for money that they spend out of pocket. So they can deduct up to $250 on their federal tax return. I got to thinking about that. Well, it's only public school teachers, and it didn't even include special ed teachers. So I did my bill for a Virginia tax deduction that was $500. So the public school teachers could get an additional $250. They couldn't use again what they did on their federal, of course, but they could get up to $500 by using the Virginia tax deduction. But I also added private schools and homeschoolers who, yeah, can y'all hear me? It blinked for a minute. Okay. So homeschoolers who are homeschooling, and I included not just teachers, because we all know how hard it is for the teachers these days, but I included teachers, counselors, special ed teachers, and student aides. So they were all covered. And that one is going through with some alterations. They may take off the homeschoolers, may also take off the private schools, but we're trying, and we'll do it again next year if they do that. And so that one was real exciting too. I got a lot of information on that. Then I have one thing that y'all have heard me talk about so often is they took informed consent away from women who are trying to decide whether or not to have an abortion. I get to carry the bill to bring that back. Written informed consent. And that one comes up tomorrow too. So that one's going to be a bit of a challenge, but when people get to hear the reasoning, it makes sense. And so I have high hopes for that one getting out of the House. I get to carry the governor's SRO bill, have an officer in every school in Virginia. I get to carry that one, which was an honor. I got to see him tonight, and his staff thanked me for carrying one of their most difficult bills, because a lot of people don't want police officers in schools. And then for Sheriff Stolley, he asked me to carry a bill about cameras in the correctional facilities. What they have, like our Virginia Beach jail has 550 cameras, and they have had problems with people moving the cameras or covering them so that you can't see assault. So it's mostly for an inmate safety issue, but sometimes the victim is a sheriff, a deputy, a correction officer. So I get to carry that bill to make it a crime to disable a camera in the correctional facilities. And this goes for every correctional facility, state, city, regional, the state. So that's a really good one. So the sheriffs were real excited about that. And I got to do one for the city to change the equalization board, which, unless John Moss is out there, probably nobody knows about this one. But the equalization board is the board in Virginia Beach that citizens go to if they think their property tax is wrong. And it has 3 members. All 3 members have to be there to hold the hearings. So if someone's missing, they have to get a court to appoint someone to fill in. So they simply asked if they could have 4 members, so one can be an alternate. It's really common sense, but in Virginia, that's the way our law is. We can't change anything in the city charters without permission from the General Assembly. So I did that really quickly. I don't know if I was within 20 minutes, within 15 minutes, but it's really exciting up here. I've had so many of y'all. I don't know who's in the room, but there's one person who actually sends me a card every week. And so many people have come up here to see me, and it's just a joy. I hope if y'all ever get a chance to come up, you can get a tour of the Capitol, and it's really exciting. I had a women's group come in the other day, and it was a prayer group, and they said, how can we pray for you? And I said, it's different up here. We're all on the same team, but we all have different ideas. We're really trying hard to work together. And I'm actually working with people on the other side. A couple of those bills I mentioned to you, I have made friends on the other side, and I have chief co-patrons on some of those, which is good. We're working together. And they asked how they could pray for me. And I said, just pray for me to be able to stand firm and stand firm on what I believe, stand firm on what I know, and make wise decisions. And so they came back today and brought me a pen, and stamped on it, it says, stand firm. So, hi. It's just so good. I miss being able to come and be with y'all and be at all the events and everything, but this will pass. But we're doing a good job in the House and we're working together. We don't know what's going to happen in the Senate, but the governor told me tonight to tell y'all to not give up hope. We're working really hard and we're really doing a wonderful job in the House, and he enjoyed being with y'all today. He was in Virginia Beach while I was still in Richmond. So, and I know you'll have questions for me later. So, but thank y'all so much for listening to me ramble.
Did we lose Tim?
Oh, he's still here. He just turned his camera off and probably stepped out of the way.
Diane, I have a question for Karen
Okay,
in the
well, I was
interlude.
trying to get Tim back on. He's got a question for you.
Karen, can you hear me?
What's the question? Supposed to write it on the paper there, so. Muted.
You're muted, Karen. Karen, you're muted.
Bottom right.
No, you're muted on your screen. You got to unmute on the bottom left. Hang on.
Can't you unmute him?
Hang on.
Said you disabled the video, so
Just
turn
turn it
him
back-
on.
I just turned it back on. Mute themselves, start video.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I was trying to take the picture. When it said the host will not allow you to unmute yourself. So,
So try and find Tim while you're there. Say you shut him off.
No, he's unmuted now.
Karen,
I'm unmuted, but it says the host has disabled my video, so I can do it
Enable
that
his
way.
video.
I'm working on it.
He's working on it.
did y'all have a question for me?
yes, Karen, Robert Dean. On the bill.
Hi, Robert.
Hi, girl. To reimburse the teachers, all teachers in the Virginia Beach school system and every other school system, all they have to do is go into the administration office. They turn in a request for whatever the item is, paper, I don't care what it is. They go out and buy it, they bring back the receipts, and they get reimbursed in that discretionary fund. And they will not admit that because they're too lazy to go out and bring back in the receipts and everything else. And then they say, I spent thousands.
That's why you need to put it down on a
Okay,
paper so
Karen,
that
I'm
you
gonna-
don't say stuff like that, okay?
Say stuff like what? Oh, so we got First Amendment rights restrictions there, huh? Is that what it is? Is that what it is?
All right, can you get Tim on?
He can unmute, he can turn his own video on and he can unmute himself.
Okay, Tim, can you hear us?
Diana, the microphone's right here. Why can't he? Why-
When you
why-
put it on speaker view, did you lose him? Because, okay. Tim, we're trying to find you. Are you there? Can you turn on your video? Video settings. God, I hate this.
Unmute.
All right, I'm here.
We got-
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, it says that the host has disabled the video, so I can't turn it on my end, but I can certainly give the audio if that's fine.
That's fine. We'll try and get your picture.
All right,
Allows him to start.
No. It's fine. Welcome. Hello, everyone in the Tea Party. I wanted to give you some updates as well from the General Assembly. A couple of major bills that have happened in the Senate I wanted to bring to your attention. The first one was Senate Bill 739. This bill passed yesterday that is going to make masks optional in all schools in Virginia. It passed the Senate with a bipartisan support. So that bill is going to come over to the House. And the governor told us tonight at the mansion that he is going to put an emergency clause on it, and it will likely become the law by the end of next week. So we will see how that goes. Now, I will tell you, here we go. Here I am. I will tell you that our governor is amazing. He issued Executive Order 2, which said parents have the right to make the decisions on masks. And then he gets sued by a bunch of crazy parents. And a court even entered a restraining order against him in Arlington. And then the Supreme Court on Tuesday dismissed one of those cases and said, oh, by the way, parents have the option to have their kids wear masks. And then on Wednesday, the Senate passes a bill that says parents have the options to wear a mask. So our governor is, and then after that, we saw New York and New Jersey and other states have started to say masks are optional. So Governor Youngkin is leading the Atlantic coast on getting rid of these states. We are so lucky to have him. He's an unbelievable guy. I'll tell you this, Karen and I have both been over that mansion 3 times now. And every time I see him, I feel like I need to get his autograph. He is just an unbelievable guy. He's doing big things for Virginia. One other big thing that happened today out of the Senate is that a bill passed with bipartisan support that said parents have a right to opt out from their children being exposed to sexually explicit materials. Now, this bill passed with pretty much bipartisan support in 2016, and then Governor McAuliffe vetoed it. So now we have the bill that has come out of the Democrat Senate that is pretty much exactly what it was in 2016. It's going to get to the House, and we are going to pass it. And this time, our governor is not going to veto it. So some big things happened within the past 2 days in the Senate. As far as me, it looks like I am going to get 7 bills through the House. A couple of them have already gotten through, and the other ones are building on deck. For those of you who are interested in tracking, I'll give you the numbers. House Bill 8 will allow veterans to serve as armed school security officers. That was one of the very first bills that passed the House of Delegates. So that is over in the Senate. And compliments to Karen, her SRO bill is going to also allow SSOs, which are school security officers, which will hopefully be veterans, serve in this really important role of protecting the schools. So her bill and my bill complement each other in that way. I have a bill tomorrow that will come up for final vote of whether we can decriminalize concealed carry charges. So if you have a gun in your car and it's in the glove box, you're legal. But if the gun's anywhere else in the car, it's probably going to be illegal. And a lot of people who are gun owners get charged with crimes in traffic stops because they have a lawful gun, they're lawful gun owners, but the gun might be in the wrong spot in their car. And so I have a bill, it's House Bill 11, that's going to decriminalize a first offense for concealed carry violations because lawful gun owners don't always know all of the wacky rules that we have on concealed carry violations. So that's coming up tomorrow. House Bill 25 is a bill that will take away child pornography offenses as enhanced sentencing offense credits that you get. So 2 years ago, Democrats passed a law that said, too many people are in jail, we need to get them out sooner. So we're going to give enhanced sentencing credits to certain offenders, mostly nonviolent. And they included child pornography possessors as one of those groups of people. So my bill, House 25, says we're going to pull child pornographers out of the block of people that might be able to be released early, and people who have child pornography will serve every bit of their sentence that a murderer or rapist would have to serve under Virginia law. Senate Bill 104, it's a speedy trial bill. So this bill basically says that we have a bunch of people that are requesting jury trials, and we have not been able to do them, and there's a big bottleneck in the criminal justice system. So this bill will allow prosecutors to set cases outside of statutory speedy trial. I know that might not be super exciting, but here is what will happen if we don't get Senate or House Bill 104 through. Felony cases will start getting dismissed because they can't try them in the time period that we have. In Virginia Beach alone, there's 130 jury trials on deck, and there's only 8 judges. And so there's no way to do 130 jury trials in the window that we have to do them under statutory speedy trial. So that is going to come up for a vote tomorrow. I suspect we'll get bipartisan support on that as well. Oh, and by the way, backing up on Senate Bill 25, I got bipartisan support on getting rid of child pornography in the committees. And so I'm expecting to get bipartisan support on that. Tomorrow morning, I have a bill presentation that's going to allow service members that are active duty, that are living in Virginia, the right to vote in Virginia without having to change their residency status. Basically, if you are a college student and you come to Virginia, you can register to vote in Virginia, even though you're not a resident of Virginia. We want to give that same protection to those service members who come here and live in Virginia for years and years and years. That's Senate Bill 68. Senate Bill 80, or House Bill 68, sorry. House Bill 86 has already passed with a 99-1 vote that is going to require the Department of Elections to have a website that is like VPAP, but it is controlled by the Department of Elections so that we have government oversight and control and make sure that those records are accurate. That passed 99-1. And if you're wondering who didn't vote for it, it was Don Scott from Portsmouth, Louise Lucas's attorney, who sued me for $20 million. And the final bill that looks like is going to get through is House Bill 1356, which basically says if you sell fentanyl, we're going to be able to charge you with murder if the person dies, or attempted murder if the person doesn't die. Fentanyl is an outrageous drug. Look at our Facebook. I posted a video of a police officer who was searching a car, and he just came into close contact to fentanyl, and he passed out on the street, almost died. He overdosed 7 times, had to have Narcan just by being in close proximity. Fentanyl has killed 70% of the overdoses we have in Virginia. And these drug dealers that are peddling fentanyl need to start being charged with what they're peddling, which is a drug that is intended to kill humans. And we are going to start charging them with murder or attempted murder. So that's what I have on my plate. I can tell you that I am as happy as a clam up here in Richmond. I couldn't be more happy with where I am. We have a great team. Your Republican majority in the House is holding the line to make sure the Democrats don't get too crazy. And we are passing bills that we are getting bipartisan support for that make sense. And so we will see what happens in the Senate. Even if every single bill we pass dies, the best thing that will come out of this is none of the craziness from the Senate will pass either. So we're going to get things, they're going to get some things through, and we're going to move forward. Virginia is so much better off this year than it was last year. So I'm glad to be a part of this team. Thank you for sending me here, and I will yield to any questions that anybody would like to ask.
You can put them both on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you have to turn the camera back. Turn the camera.
Okay. Karen's there. So which way do you want this? This way?
Wherever you're, why don't you stand up there and ask the question?
I went over there to ask you questions. So anyway, they want to know what committees are you on? Karen said she was on the election integrity committee. What committee?
It's
are
in
you
my
on?
red bag in there in the back.
I am on courts, which is normal because I'm a lawyer. I'm on transportation, and I am on communications. And so Karen is on privileges and elections, and I'm not the other sure, but I know she's on privileges.
What other committees are you on, Karen?
Yes, I am on communications technology and which is kind of interesting. It's different, but I'm also on education. And they put me in higher ed for some reason when I didn't go to college, but I guess they wanted a different perspective, but that's been really good too.
Okay, this question is for Karen. Why are they removing us homeschooling parents from the bill to give us reimbursements? What is the reason? I guess they would be able to give reimbursements for school supplies and everything for parents, and now it's not in the bill.
Right. Well, that hasn't, I'm expecting it to be done. I'm sorry, we're plugging in my computer here. But some people don't understand the difference between a tax credit and a tax deduction. So they are convinced that if we let the homeschoolers keep a little bit more of their money, that there will be less money to give to the public schools. That's the only excuse I've been given. And same thing for private schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
So regarding the active duty voting bill, would this allow veterans and college students to vote in 2 states? Their home state and the state here.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the law basically is that when you register to vote, it deregisters you of where you were formerly registered to vote. So the way some college students, particularly like maybe you have a kid from Virginia Beach and they're out in JMU, that college student could elect to vote by mail, by absentee ballot, or that college student could enroll in Stanton as a resident of Stanton and vote there. They wouldn't be able to vote twice. They would only be able to vote where they're living. So if there was a active duty service member from South Carolina who was living in Virginia and they wanted to register to vote in Virginia, they would not also be allowed to vote in South Carolina.
Okay. Okay. What happens if the registrars don't keep up with the voter rolls and take them off?
There's a process, the interstate compact that works between all the states. So if you move here from Florida and you register to vote in Virginia, and Virginia will automatically notify the home state, Florida, for instance, and you will come off of the roll in that state. And on top of it, it would be a felony to do that. So I don't think that we're going to see any kind of rampant fraud from our active duty military that would be felonious in nature. But I obviously don't know how every state disenrolls people as quickly as they can, but it does happen automatically by all the 50 states.
Okay, Karen, you had the bill that, is making it so it's weekly. They're going to be doing updates of the voter rolls. So
yes,
same questions. What if they don't do it weekly?
Well, what we're talking about is who died. The Office of Vital Statistics right now is required by law to monthly give the information to the Board of Elections. And the Board of Elections is to make it available to registrars with no requirement that they update the rolls. So now that information has to be transferred weekly and also weekly to the registrars to update. But the code also says they have to update by who moved and use, DMV records. They're to use all the records that they can to update on a weekly basis.
Okay, so that's weekly as well. Okay. So before that bill, were vets not allowed to serve as security guards in school? I guess that's your bill, Tim?
Yeah. So anybody can be a school security officer under Virginia law. But if you want to be an armed security officer, then you have to be a police officer, a retired police officer, or a police officer that was a police officer within 10 years. Those are the only 2 classes of people. So what House Bill 8 did is it said those veterans who have served at least 10 years and who have honorably been discharged from the military can qualify to be school security officers. And if they are, they still have to go through the exact same training that the police have to go through to become school security officers. So it basically opens up an entirely new class of people that can be armed school security officers in the building.
Okay, question, if the active duty Karen.
Yeah, I have a comment on that one.
Okay.
Yeah. I have the SRO bill from the governor, And we changed it instead of just an SRO, which is as Tim was saying, a police officer in every school. In a lot of locations, they felt like that would be difficult to do. So we changed it to allow SSOs. So they can actually have who are now unarmed officers in the schools, just to make sure that we can get protection in all of our schools in the Commonwealth.
Okay, back to the active duty people here. Would active duty folks, if they register to vote here, would they have to then start paying state taxes here?
No, that's specifically what Senate Bill 60 or House Bill 68 addresses. Is this targets the Navy guy who lives in Virginia Beach, who's bought a house in Virginia Beach, their kids are going to school in Virginia Beach, but they're still South Carolina residents for tax purposes. So they would not be required to become taxable citizens in Virginia. They're still paying taxes in Virginia. They're still paying real estate taxes and consumption taxes, but they wouldn't have to have their military income taxed by state government.
Yeah, okay, that's good. There is a bill to exempt military from paying taxes on their retirement up to a certain amount. Does anybody know where that bill stands?
It's still in the process. Basically, that's going to be exempting $40,000 of the pay, but it's not going to happen all at once. I think they're talking about $10,000 in the first year, $20,000 in the second year, and then by year 4, it will have that. The thing is that when you do these things, for instance, and I was speaking with the transportation or with the transportation appropriations guy, Terry Austin, yesterday about this. He said, for every penny that you take off the gas tax, that's $50 million of revenue to the state. And so we have to ease into this. It's not going to be all at once this year, because if we did, it would just blow a gaping hole in the budget. So it's my understanding it's still on track. It's just not going to be 40,000 all at once in year 1. It's going to be more teetered over time.
Well, I can tell you, I've been watching tax bills and they've been, being passed by for the year.
I will tell this because y'all are Tea Party people. This will be the biggest year of tax reductions in the history of Virginia in our lifetimes. So dramatic. It's not going to be everything the governor promised, but it's going to be big. And then we're going to get to the governor's promises before he leaves office.
Yeah, well, I was watching in the Senate and they passed it by for the year, 3 tax bills for the year. So
yeah, well, we still have them. And what happens is we pass them and they'll go over to the Senate and then they'll be addressed. Look, nobody said the governor was going to get the masks off the kids. And then within a day it happened. And so it's better to be on the train than to be run over by the train. And the Democrats in the Senate are learning that.
okay, CRT, where does that stand in the legislature? Does any of you have that bill about the?
CRT's dead. It's dead by executive order number 1. No legislative action necessary. The governor has an order. It's gone. There's been no challenges to that. So Department of Education should be rooting all of that divisive.
Yeah, I thought there was a divisive language bill.
That's right.
Yes. Okay, so the divisive language bill doesn't need to be because of the executive order? Karen?
That's right.
Karen, did you want to say anything about that?
Well, we do still have a bill going through to make sure there's no divisive language. LaRock has it, and it is still going through, and it'll probably be on the floor tomorrow.
Okay. The constitutional, the Convention of States, the resolution, where do you all stand on that? Has that hit the floor yet?
I don't think
Yeah.
It says, are you able or considering moving HR 3 to the floor for a vote? That's the Convention of States.
Hi. Yeah, can I do Convention of States? Because my name's actually on the Convention of States resolution this year. I do support Convention of States. The problem this year is that they did not introduce the faithful resolution, which if Convention of States resolution is where you're going to call for a Convention of States for the 3 topics, fiscal responsibility, term limits, and to address the overreach of the government. But there's a sister bill that tells who from Virginia can go to that convention and represent us. We don't want federal, congressional politicians going and representing Virginia to try and correct federal issues. And they did not introduce that bill this year. So we took out the Convention of States resolution because without knowing who's going to represent us, it's powerless. And we're going to regroup and get it better next year.
I think
Do you have Convention of States supporters out there?
No,
No?
no.
We figure if they're not following the
kidding me.
Constitution
It
now,
is.
why change it? They're not gonna,
It's not changing the you know what?
Oh,
Why, instead of letting this take over, why don't we talk, when I get out of session, I'll be glad to talk about it.
Okay.
I don't want to take over this thing with it.
Okay, I think, Tim, you had a bill on what VPAP does. VPAP has, what's going on with election finance and stuff like that. So you have a bill for them to do that? I mean, VPAP does a great job. Why should we pay them to do it?
Well, because VPAP isn't a government agency and we have no control or regulation over them. So if VPAP were to put up inaccurate information, the government would have no ability to control that. And then more importantly, VPAP could go away. It's a private company. It's a private charity. And so no other state in the nation relies on a third party to be the primary source of campaign finance disclosures. It's a core function of government that the government should be providing this information to its citizens. VPAP will not go out of business. We're not trying to put them out of business, but we need to have that as a governmental function, not relying on a third party. And so it is very, very, it's not a crisis because VPAP's doing a great job, but they could go out of business tomorrow. And if they did, we would be very flat-footed. And so no other state does it like this, and we're going to get in compliance with everybody else.
Okay, want to know what's the bill number for the grocery tax? Do you know what the number is for the grocery tax bill? And
I don't think that there is a bill. Karen can correct me. I don't think there's a bill number on that. I think it's a budget amendment of how they're going to address it in the budget. Karen could correct me if I'm wrong.
And Karen,
No, I don't know any different.
Karen, you had that bill on the off something drugs, off label drugs. What is it? Off drugs, right? Do you know that SB 711, the same thing for you to be able to give that drugs and everything, that failed this morning in the Senate. That bill failed this morning. So
well, mine's a little bit different.
Okay.
Because mine is supported by the Medical Society of Virginia and is supported by the Virginia Pharmacists Association. And I have support from the administration for my bill. Well, I can't really say support. I have the Medical Professions Board who does the licensing for doctors. They have taken the position that they have no problem with my bill because they don't have authority to support it, but they actually worked with me on writing it. And what it does is it says that any doctor or someone with power to prescribe, a doctor can prescribe and a pharmacist can fill any FDA approved drug for an off-label use. And so right now there's a bit of contention about that right now. And it also says that you cannot tell a doctor or pharmacist they must. It's giving them the right to use their medical expertise to make decisions with their patient. So it's actually protecting the doctor-patient relationship more than it is going after specific drugs.
There have been threats to physicians who've done that they might.
what about does it eliminate the threats to physicians because some of them has gotten fired, like Dr. Merrick?
Yes. It actually says a hospital cannot punish, rebuke, reprimand, fire a doctor or a pharmacist simply for writing or filling the prescription.
Okay, back to it. Oh,
What bill is that and when is it going to the floor?
do you know when that bill is gonna go to the floor, your bill on that?
I'm expecting Monday.
Monday?
Bill number?
Yeah.
You know the bill number?
Yeah, that's House Bill 102.
102. Okay, wants to know that the off-label bill does include prescriptions for pregnant women. Does her off-label bill include prescriptions to pregnant women?
Pregnant women?
Yeah, I would imagine so, you know, I mean, doctors
Oh.
have prescriptions for pregnant women.
Are you talking about methotrexate by any chance?
Do you know what the drug is?
No, I don't, it could be any drug she's talking about. I'm saying that FDA approved drugs that are not
No.
available to pregnant women. If a doctor were to prescribe them, it could be a
Detrimental.
mutagen or something.
Okay, I guess there is a list of bills that for pregnant women, even though they're FDA approved bill, they're not approved for pregnant women, so they want to know whether or not.
Well, that's up to the woman and her doctor to decide which drugs are most appropriate for her.
Well, I imagine the pharmacist, and this happened to my husband, when he went to get a prescription, the pharmacist said, does your doctor know that you're also on this drug because you could have these side effects? And he said, yes, my doctor already knows. So
Mhm.
the pharmacist can tell you that stuff. Okay, but they can't not fill it. If the
Hey,
doctor-
Diane,
They already have the right to refuse to fill a prescription. That's already in Virginia code.
Okay,
hey, Diane, can I cut in just for a second? I forgot to mention one bill that passed that I wanted to bring everybody's attention to.
great, go ahead.
House Bill 4, which I chief co-patron and Karen co-patron. This is the bill that reversed lunacy bill that the General Assembly passed that said it was okay to cover up sexual assaults in schools. We got that through with overwhelming bipartisan support in the House. The bill now says kids are going to do stupid things, and when they do stupid things, the principal can address that. But when a kid sexually assaults another kid, when a kid stabs a kid, when a kid stalks another child, when a kid tells a teacher, "I'm going to murder you after school," the police must be called in every circumstance. So House Bill 4 went through with bipartisan support. They just passed that bill. It was House Bill 257. We talked about it a lot on the campaign. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew that we got that through with bipartisan support. I was a patron on it, and so was Karen.
Oh, great. Okay, is the state doing anything about ERIC? That's an election bill. ERIC, it stands for,
It's a program that the state pays to have all the data from the DMV and all the data from the registrar, but they're not providing the data to local registrars or anything to clean up rolls.
well, they're saying it's supposed to. She's saying ERIC is the system that is supposed to provide, you know, when somebody moves, the DMV records, you know, that sort of thing to the voter registrars. And she's saying they're not
providing
getting
the
them.
information.
They're not getting that on a weekly basis or a monthly basis or whatever.
And we're not able to FOIA it.
And we're not able to FOIA it either to find it out.
Can find out why we can't get a FOIA.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't know of anything on that point.
Okay, all right, if you can find out, let us know, that'd be great,
It would be
okay?
under election integrity.
On the grocery bill, right? They're working on like doing, it's like some of the tax is, I think it's like 1% is state, 1% is city councils or Board of elections, and 0.5 goes to transportation. So if they pass a bill to get rid of all the tax, can city council refuse to eliminate it?
I talked to Vice Chairman of Appropriations, Terry Austin, about that exact question yesterday. And it's my understanding that Virginia intends to make the localities whole. So whatever revenue they were getting on the grocery tax, the General Assembly is going to fund that in the budget so that there will be no grocery tax in any corner of the Commonwealth when this passes.
Well, that would be like the car tax. Remember when Gilmore was governor, right? He put in to phase out the car tax, and phase one went through and they were doing the same thing, keeping the localities whole because they complained about not having that revenue from the car tax. And then when Warner became governor, phase 2, 3, and 4 never happened. So they're concerned about that as well. Okay, what is going on with repealing the immunity for lawmakers which caused Senator Lucas to walk on felony charges? Is there a bill on that?
No comment.
So I will say this. There's a funny video that I posted a couple last week sometime. Delegate Bourne came up with a bill in our court subcommittee that said we need to strip the immunity from police. And I asked him this question, and I said, Delegate Bourne, does your bill strip immunity from lawmakers when we make unconstitutional laws that citizens have to go and fight to get their rights back? Does that strip our immunity as well? And he said, no, it only, lawmakers, of course, would be exempt. And I said, so as lawmakers, we are protecting ourselves with absolute immunity while we ask our police to have no immunity for their official actions. And it's this flailing out of water, fish out of water kind of a thing. So feel free to watch that. That's on our Facebook from last week. But other than that, there's not going to be any immunity changes to Virginia law this year for police or for anybody. It doesn't appear.
Let you know, SB 7 and SB 11 both, like doing the standard deduction, increasing that, right? Both dead in the Senate. So anybody know of the House bill for that? For increasing the standard deduction note to
Sure. So
the federal government, because our standard deduction here is like what, 6,000 or something like that. They want to like increase it to 9,000 or 14,000 or whatever for a married couple or single person.
that issue is still alive in the House. I talked to Joe McNamara, who's on the Finance Committee, and doubling the standard deduction under Virginia law is very much still going to be part of the push that we send over to the Senate. So what happens is we push our stuff and they push their stuff, and then conferees all have to come together and sort it out. And that's going to happen long after we leave Richmond next month. So I don't think that is dead.
Okay, does anybody else have any other questions?
Just one.
One in the back here.
When is the security for the school start officially?
When does is there a date when the security for schools start? Once these bills get passed, is there a date that they take effect? Would it be next year for the security officers?
Most bills that we pass will go into effect on July 1 if they pass the Senate and the governor signs them.
Oh, there's another question. Hold on. Let me get it.
Oh, I just want to know if they removed the, all the critical race theory information in the Department of Education and who we can contact at the Department of Education.
Verify.
She wants to know if there's anything about removing all the critical race theory stuff off the Department of Education's website, because teachers could go on there and get lesson plans and stuff like that. That are all about that. So, is there anything
to have that stuff down? So if it's still up there, you probably want to notify the Secretary of Education.
All right.
Okay, Leslie.
I just wanted to know how you all are gonna keep the VPAC style
workers to keep up with what you all are gonna be asking of them, and also the same thing for the registrars. What will happen to them if they don't?
Well,
Is there
yeah,
consequence?
they want to know once you get the VPAP thing or the election, the weekly thing and like that, who's going to monitor whether or not these things are being updated properly? Is there a committee or something like that in the bill to make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing?
Jason Mieres is the attorney for the state. And so if an agency is not following state law, you should be contacting his office. That's his job.
Okay,
To
so
inform.
we have to find it out and then report it.
Yeah,
That's right.
Right.
Exactly right.
okay.
Okay, all right. So do you want to do some closing comments? Because nobody else has any questions. Oh, well, there's another question. Daphne, speak up.
She didn't write it down.
I know.
If our local superintendent is violating the regulation, do we call Jason Mieres?
To know if the superintendent's violating what he's supposed to be doing, who's supposed to call? I imagine she would do it to the school board, but she said, should I call Jason on that as well? So.
Good job.
No, really.
No.
He just didn't respond.
Yeah, I know. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear. Look, Jason Mieres is the agency that office is the agency that enforces the governor's orders and state law. And if you're aware of a violation of the governor's executive orders or specifically of state law, notifying the attorney general's office is the appropriate agency because it's up to them to bring compulsory action to comply with state law and governor's.
Thank you.
Yeah, there are conferences and stuff like that you do in the House and the Senate, Republican conferences, and there's Democrat conferences and stuff. Do you discuss how you're going to get the Democrats on board in the Senate to help support some of your bills? Because that's the only way the mask things got passed over there in the Senate was there were, Democrats that signed on there. So like there are Democrats that are pro-life, pro-school choice, eliminating taxes. So we could reach out to them with your bills. Does anybody identify that for you so that when you go over to defend your bill over in the Senate, you can discuss with them support? Does that happen?
Do you want to go, Karen, or you want me?
So, well, I've only been over to the Senate once, but our senators, Jen Kiggins and Bill DeStaff, worked with me before I went over there. So I'm sure they're going to make sure that I know everything that we possibly can, who to talk to. There are several. I sent information over to a senator just today to get information on a bill I have coming up tomorrow. So yeah, that's a strong possibility and we're working on it. And we have good guidance up here with DeStaff and Kiggins.
Great. Tim?
I'm spending a lot of time on the 6th floor of the Pocahontas building, which is where the senators are. There's, getting things through the House is exciting, but if they're just going to die in the Senate, not so exciting. So some of the bills we're passing as a matter of principle because, we can't compromise, and some things we're watering down to try to get the senators on board. And so there's an election coming up next year, and we produce bills that are important to conservatives, and they're killed in the Senate. It's things to talk about next year during the election. So there's a lot of strategy of what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Right. Yeah, it's like the Senate's killing all those 2A Second Amendment bills as well. So
that's right.
Anyway, so unless you guys got closing comments. Oh, there's another question.
No, let's good job.
Would you like to sponsor a hole for the second annual Patriot patriotic golf tournament on April the 25th.
Yeah, do that when you come back. They need sponsors for raising money. Anyway, so thank you so much for coming. Do you have any final comments?
Just thank you for having us, and thank you for helping us get here.
Awesome. We're so proud of the both of you. Hopefully we'll get up to see you sometime soon. All right?
Can they just tell us what the schedule is, like when does session end and then when?
Oh,
the
when
budget-
does crossover? It's the 16th, isn't it? Or the 15th? It's the 15th. So if a bill isn't through by the 15th, it's not gonna cross over. It'll be like held over to next year. Is that what happens?
Or just dead, yeah.
Dead,
15th of this
without
month?
even being heard. Yes, next week. Yes. So that whole day, if it doesn't go through by Tuesday night, and it's gotta be read 3 times. So really, it has to pass committee by Friday unless you're all having session over the weekend.
It has to pass tomorrow, Friday.
Yeah.
Saturday's a first reading. None of us are going to be here. Tuesday would be second reading, or Monday would be second reading, and Tuesday would be our third reading. So if it doesn't come out of committee tomorrow, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Okay. So it'll be held over to the next year, or you have to put it in again.
You can have a special session, they did.
Well, the governor calls it special session.
We're Republicans. We like to have vacations in the summertime.
Okay, that's it.
Hopefully we see you soon. Okay, so.
All right, bye.
Bye. You all look great, by the way. Okay.
Stop
So,
recording.